Have you ever heard a child, or maybe even an adult, they're playing a game, they're on the verge of defeat, and they exclaim, I'm never gonna win? Have you ever said that quietly in the stillness of your own mind? Maybe you ended up winning, or maybe you didn't. But those thoughts, they actually strengthened a subtle, often unnoticed mindset. You see, mindsets are the most powerful predictors of change, and they are a litmus test for the quality and potential of an organization's customer experience. Let me define this and illustrate it a bit. You see, mindset, by definition, it's an established set of attitudes. You may be thinking, as I have before, how does an established set of attitudes precede change, let alone determine our potential? So let's break it down a little bit more. You see, first, established. It means it's having been in existence for a long time. And attitudes, they're settled ways of thinking or feeling. So go back to that intense game of, say, Monopoly, where you exclaim that you would never win. That exclamation was one more step towards settling your thinking and feeling, in that case, about your ability to win. And each of us walk around, whether we want to admit it or not, with settled ways of thinking that have been in existence for a long time. We do this as individuals, we do it as teams, we do it as organizations, we even do this as broader cultures. So, for a fun illustration, let's do an exercise together. What is your settled way of thinking around brownies? Nuts or no nuts? You probably have a passionate response to that. What about yellow traffic lights? Speed up or slow down? Try this one. How many nights is too many nights at your in-laws' house? Let's take this same approach and ask about our mindsets that we have towards customers. Are they a nuisance or a necessity? In high school, I got to work for the Gap. I basically worked for clothes because my paycheck seemed to just go right back to the company. But growing up in Orlando, I worked at a location off of International Drive where all of the tourists to Orlando would come. I don't know what it is about being on vacation, but customers would come in and they would try on so many clothes, and then they would just leave them piled in the dressing room. It was really easy as an employee to get aggravated and to start to see customers as a nuisance, a bother, a pain. It's Henry Ford that's been noted as saying it's not the employer who pays the wages. The employer simply handles the money. It's the customer who pays the wages. Imagine the impact on our customer experiences when we walk around with a mindset that customers are a nuisance. What about our mindset for work? Is your mindset that your work determines your value, or that your value determines the quality of your work? Are you working to live out your life purpose or simply get a paycheck? A friend recently shared about her dad. He was a physician. And growing up in the morning, she'd say, Dad, are you going to work? He'd say, No, I'm not going to work. I'm going to stamp out disease. I'm going to push back the frontiers of medicine. I'm going to write new pages on the books of medical history. Is your mindset that you have to work or that you get to work? The difference between have to and get to has a significant impact on our attitudes and ultimately our behavior. When a new task pops up, do you have a mindset that, oh, that's someone else's job? Or is it a mindset that it's all of our job to jump in? Those mindset, the settled ways of thinking that have been in existence for a long time, they become an indicator for our potential as individuals and then collectively as organizations. So the principle here is as we think, so shall we act. For some, this may sound really familiar, and that's because it was written actually thousands of years ago. You can find it in the Bible, in Proverbs 23, verse 7. And the point is that our thoughts determine our actions. And here's why this is really important, that we not only recognize the principle, but that we know what to do with it. Mindset precedes change. Another way to think about it is that our mindset determines what we get. Those areas of life that this really shows up in are things like health and finances. For years, I worked in the wellness industry, and individuals would come in and they really wanted to change, but they had the hardest time changing their behavior. When I would ask, what's your motivation for being healthier? Often their response was, oh, it's an upcoming vacation or a family reunion. It was really focused on a mindset of appearance, of what others thought of them. They would start a routine, change behavior, and about 2 weeks later, it would just fizzle out. Their mindset for changing was on the surface, it was ego centered. And then a few months later, those same individuals would come back. And this time, their mind was set on what they were going to do. Their mindset was committed to change, it was committed to new behaviors. They were fed up with being fed up. You see, change is hard. And often we focus on this part of the equation of change about a change in behavior that equals a change in result. And that's 100% true. When we change our behaviors, our results change. We change our spending behaviors, spend less. The result, you have more savings. You change your eating behaviors to eat healthier. The results, you get a healthier body. You change your behaviors on how we treat employees, and you get happier, more fulfilled employees. Change our behaviors on how we treat customers, and you get more satisfied, loyal customers. But here's the thing. So often we get stuck once we know what behaviors need to change because we have a really hard time maintaining those behaviors. And information doesn't change behavior. We have to have a change in our mind on where our mind is set because our mindset determines what we get. Yes, we need to know the results that we're shooting for, and we need to know what behaviors drive those results, but it doesn't end there. We must identify what mindset is driving the current behavior and what mindset we need to drive the new one. A change in mindset creates a change in behaviors, which then makes a change in results. So, where do you have limited ways of thinking, limited mindsets right now? Maybe it's in your career, in your family, your team dynamic at work. Identify those and rewrite the script. What would the mindset be to get you where you want to be? What does the mindset of a thriving employee, a thriving leader, a strong parent, a confident student, what does that mindset sound like? Repeat those mindsets more of the time. And perhaps the next time you find yourself playing a board game and you're behind, instead of exclaiming, I'm never going to win, flip the script and say or think, I'm going to give it my best to the very end.